The D-Day is finally here. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has officially kick-started India's vaccination drive, the largest immunization program in the history of the world. Quoting poets like Ramdhari Singh Dinkar and Telugu poet Gurajada Venkata Apparao, PM Modi congratulated the healthcare and frontline workers who took the fight against COVID head-on, and also to the scientific community who helped develop vaccines in India on such a short time. As the immunization drive kick-starts, hello and welcome to this special coverage. My colleague Ekta Batra also joins us on the broadcast. Ekta, good morning. A milestone day for the country and the world in the fight against COVID-19.
Hi Archana, indeed it is a red letter day for India. Around 3 crore frontline workers will be inoculated in the first phase, the cost of which is going to be borne by the centre. Around 3,000 vaccine centres, over 3,000 vaccine centres would be targeting that inoculation, and around 100 beneficiaries each on day one itself. The drug regulator so far has approved serum's Covishield, as we all know, and Bharat Biotech's Covaxin for emergency use. The target is to inoculate around 3 lakh beneficiaries on day one across those 3,000 vaccine centres. So a big day, Archana.
Well, yes, and Prime Minister Modi also threw his weight behind the vaccines. He said only after the scientific community was convinced did the country approve the 2 vaccines. While with apprehensions being raised on adding people, apprehensions being raised on the fact that some of the vaccines are still under trial and the data may not be available, PM Modi also said that people should stay clear of misinformation and false news on Indian vaccines, also highlighting that COVID vaccines in India are the most affordable. Remember, Serum Institute's Covishield is priced at 210 and Bharat Biotech's Covaxin is priced at 309 rupees in the government procurement. Most important that even as vaccines are rolled out, COVID precaution protocols need to be followed and both vaccine doses are important. Well, on this big day, we have our team of reporters on the ground getting us all the latest developments. We have Yash Jain first joining us from the Jumbo COVID facility at BKC in Mumbai. Yash, what is it that you see there? What are the kind of preparations?
So Archana, it's the D-Day as you said, and that very second has arrived when the mega COVID vaccination drive kickstarts. I'm coming to you from the Jumbo COVID facility in BKC, and this spot is very important because it's the biggest vaccination center, not just in Maharashtra, but the whole of India. So it becomes very important from that point of view. Now, as far as the spot is concerned, starting tomorrow, there would be 2 vaccination drives. Today, there is just 1 vaccination shift or drive, that is between 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. But from tomorrow, there will be 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. as one shift, and the second shift would be 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Today, this spot is targeting to vaccinate around 500 people. This is as per the list which they have. We'll have to wait to see how many people really turn up out of that 500 people list. But that is the target. And from tomorrow, as the shift doubles, the number of people vaccinated, the target there would be 1,000 as far as the center itself is concerned. Today, of course, healthcare workers have been coming here to get vaccinated. We spoke to a whole host of them. And the good part is that all of them seem to be quite positive when it comes to keeping all the apprehensions aside. And that will be important because healthcare workers have been in the center of this fight against COVID. And if they seem to be positive and the process starts on a positive note, a lot of people would be looking up to them as far as getting vaccinated going forward is concerned. The process has been made very simple here. You enter, there's a physical registration which you do, beyond which there is a COVID registration on the app that you'll have to do. You wait in the waiting room till the time your turn comes, then you go get vaccinated, and post which half an hour you stay in the observation room where your statistics will be monitored, and then accordingly if any precautionary measures are to be taken, that will be taken. So the process is very simple. People are very positive at this point of time. Let's see, it's an important day for the state of Maharashtra and the country today.
Yes, absolutely, Yash, absolutely. No debating the fact that this is one of the most important days, and the way we've started off 2021, absolutely opposite to what 2020 looked like. But nonetheless, let's now go across to Mugdha, who joins in from the Bangalore Medical College and Research Center. She's joining in to tell us what exactly the ground picture is like. Mugdha, have the vaccinations begun?
That's right. It should be starting any minute now. I'm at the Bangalore Medical College and Research Institute. Like you mentioned, the Chief Minister and the Karnataka Health Minister have arrived here. They were, part of the vaccination launch program that the Prime Minister launched nationwide. And there are 243 such centers across the state, and each center is expected to vaccinate at least 100 people each. So the state has a target of vaccinating about 24,300 healthcare workers and frontline workers today. That is the target. The state has currently seen about 7.17 lakh healthcare workers and frontline workers register on the COVID portal. The state has so far received 8.14 lakh vaccine doses, of which 20,000 are Covaxin doses, and these are being rolled out at 6 centers. Bangalore doesn't have any Covaxin center. The 6 centers which will give out Covaxin are in Bellary, Shivmoga, Hassan, Chikmagalur, Chamrajnagar and Devnagari. Now, we spoke to several of the healthcare workers who have come here. In fact, we also caught up with Dr. Balal, the chairman of Manipal Hospitals, who is here to get his vaccination. In fact, Manipal Hospitals will actually start rolling out vaccination only tomorrow, but he's here because he says he wants to instill confidence about the vaccination among all healthcare workers. He also expects that there'll be not too many opt-outs today, and that is something that we have to wait and watch of the healthcare workers who have registered, how many really go through the process, how many opt out. But so far so good, the vaccination process would have begun inside.
All right, thank you, Mugdha, for that. We come now to Anu, who's waiting at Max Hospital in Delhi. Anu, what are the preparations there? Have you spoken to some of the healthcare workers around? What's the mood like?
Well, we are at Max Hospital, Patparganj, and here nearly 100 people will get administered the vaccine, the COVID-Shield vaccine of the Serum Institute. And right now, I'll just take you through the facility and see what's the preparation like. This here is the waiting room where people would wait before getting the vaccination shot. And here we understand that the first person who volunteered was the HOD for emergency medicine. Let's quickly speak to one of the people who are ready to get vaccinated. Can we have your name, please?
I'm Dr. Asya from Max Patparganj Emergency Department.
And what are you feeling like before getting the vaccination shot, and what are your expectations from it?
Hope everything goes well. That's
And
it.
when is the second dose likely to get?
After 4 weeks.
After 4 weeks. Ma'am, what about you?
Hi, I'm Dr. Sohini. I'm an emergency physician here. So I'm very excited about the vaccine. I'm very happy to be getting it.
Did you volunteer for it?
Yes, my name was selected. We all applied for it.
Okay, thank you. The second part is where you get the vaccine. This is the second room where the nurses are there to give you that vaccine shot. And here we can see first they are taking the documents assessed, and second step is getting the vaccine. The nurse here will get the vaccine shot. Can we have a look at the vaccine which will be administered? Vaccine. Yeah, so this is the vaccine which will be administered. This is the COVID-Shield vaccine of Serum Institute. This facility here will administer around 500 people over the next 4-5 days, because that is the capacity that they currently have. This here is the observation facility where the patient will be here for another 30 minutes, so that the doctors will observe as to any other reactions, if there are any, for the vaccine. This entire process will take about 1 hour for any patient, and people here are very excited, as you can see, and very hopeful for the vaccination program. Back to you.
Okay, all right, Anu. Thanks very much for bringing us that on-ground picture. But in fact, let's go across to Timsi now. She's at the LNJP hospital in Delhi, and she joins in to tell us what exactly the on-ground situation is there. Timsi, over to you.
Well, we are at LNJP hospital here in New Delhi, where Health Minister Satyendra Jain and Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal are likely to be here to be precise, Health Minister just here. He's just reached, and he will be looking at the entire administration here of the vaccination along with Chief Minister. They'll review the situation. They will also see how best things can be done. When we speak, we have DM of this region particularly getting inside, taking the officials inside to show what can be done, how things are right now, the preparations are. The first vaccine shot will be done only post CM. Here, they will look after how things said. It will be healthcare workers first. They want to come here to instill confidence.
All right, Timsi, thank you so much for bringing that update. Let's connect with Dr. Sangeeta Reddy, Joint Managing Director of Apollo Hospitals, who joins us now, even as preparations for rolling out the vaccines at these centers are ongoing. Dr. Reddy, thank you so much for joining us here on CNBC TV 18. A red letter day for India, big preparations. How is your hospital, how is the medical community right now today? What is the preparations? There are some apprehensions that are being spoken about. There are some doctors, some healthcare and frontline professionals who are a bit apprehensive. What's your sense as a doctor today when India kickstarts this vaccination drive?
So let me begin by saying that this is a fantastic and outstanding day for India. We are launching the world's largest vaccination program and also the world's largest preventive healthcare program. And as per the important question you asked on allaying fears, I just want to say on behalf of Apollo that we are not just fully behind the government and the scientists, but the proof of that is that our chairman, Dr. Pratap Reddy, who's 87 years old, has been to the hospital every day during COVID, taking safety precautions, is today the first healthcare worker on behalf of Apollo receiving the vaccine. So I think that is, he's there to allay fears, to put his might behind his belief in science and his faith in the government and the process. So I think that's it from Apollo. Today we have 16 centers all over the country starting. Day after tomorrow, 6 more. On the 19th, 1 more. On the 21st, 10 more. So step by step, all our centers are getting, they've all been approved by the government, but they're ready. The process is simple. We will work with the government. We are very committed to this program, and we are truly appreciative of the fact that today is a proof of the very important point that when society comes together, government, science, doctors, policemen, frontline workers, and members of society who have been disciplined and supportive, when all of us come together, we can achieve everything in health. So thank you. It's a very, very special day for India.
Okay, Absolutely, Mrs. Reddy. And the fact that Dr. Reddy is one of the first to in fact receive the vaccination today to instill confidence in the staff is absolutely wonderful news. But Ms. Reddy, one of the key things which even the Prime Minister brought up in his speech is the fact that maybe people could probably skip the second dose. So can you give us a sense in terms of what kind of logistics do you have in place for Apollo in order to ensure that that doesn't happen?
So I think this is a very important point. Thank you for asking this question. So it has been scientifically proven that you need 2 doses to produce the adequate amount of antibodies within your own system to protect you against the virus. And therefore, it is critical across the Apollo ecosystem. We have not only the cold chain in place so that we store and we transport safely to all centers who are participating. We will work with the government app, which is the CoWIN app. But in addition to that, we are doing our own registration of vulnerable people. So we maintain a database. This database will also be used to make the phone calls to people as reminder calls for their second dose. And again, we will be updating this in the government system so that the government is also kept informed of the complete compliance, because they have thought through every step of the way, and we are participating and supporting the very comprehensive planning system of the government. And we have submitted detailed lists of all our vulnerable patients. We continue to work with our patients and our entire constituent to say that this is safe, This is a good scientific program and everybody should come forward to participate.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Reddy, for joining us here on CNBC TV 18 for this special day. We also have with us Dr. Bishnu Panigrahi, Group Head Medical Strategy and Operations at Fortis Healthcare, joining us now. Dr. Panigrahi, thank you so much for joining us here on this very special and important day. Do tell us what are the kind of preparations that your hospital is taking across the country, across your centers for vaccination, and particularly to talk about Covaxin, if that is one of the vaccines that your center will be rolling out. What are the special preparations? Because the modalities came out a little late in terms of informed consent forms and the follow-ups, etc. Do tell us what are the preparations at your end.
Thank you very much, CNBC, and from Fortis Healthcare, I would like to thank you all. And this is a red letter day as far as India is concerned. I think so. After 15th August 1947, I think so. This is another I can call independence from COVID, and that's the thing that we are looking at. And as we speak today, 14 of our centers across our network of group of hospitals have been identified to go in the first phase. Is that today, tomorrow, and day after, and it is spread across the length and breadth of the country. Today we are in Delhi. We are having at Shalimar Bagh and at Fortis Escort Heart Institute, and over the next 2 days it will be across. Tomorrow it's in the Bangalore clusters. Then we have in the Mumbai cluster, we have Vashi, Punjab is there. So this is how we are planning out to go about it. And we are going back by all the government guidelines that is there. And I would like to set at rest the sort of things that are coming about the Covaxin. In fact, there's a lot of, we are absolutely all the entire staff, whether it's the doctors, nurses, the other healthcare workers, the junior level staff, they are very excited about it, and there's no hang up about whether it's Covishield or Covaxin. And the data does show that Covaxin also is very effective. So I would like to put at rest the fears that are circulating outside about the question mark about Covaxin. I would like to set it at rest, number one. Number two, if you look at it, any vaccine which has an efficacy of more than 60% is said to be good. And the most important part I like to stress is that if you look at history also, India has been the largest manufacturer of vaccines supplying across the globe. And if the quality was not assured, people outside India wouldn't have been buying it. So this is something that I request the print media, the electronic media, and to sort of allay the anxiety that is sort of swirling around across, that is there a question mark about Covaxin. So I like to again re-stress, please go ahead and
right, Dr. Panigrahi. Yeah, Dr. Panigrahi, we'll come back to you. Dr. Harshvardhan, Health Minister, is speaking to media. Let's just cut in straight there.
भारतीय वैक्सीन देश के अंदर उपलब्ध हुई है और ये वैक्सीन हमारी कोविड के खिलाफ जंग में एक संजीवनी का काम करेगी। भारत ने पहले पोलियो और चेचक के खिलाफ जंग जीती है और अब प्रधानमंत्री कोविड के खिलाफ जंग जीतने के निर्णायक दौर में पहुंच चुका है। मैं इस अवसर पर सभी देशवासियों को, कोविड वॉरियर्स को, कोविड वॉरियर्स के परिवारजनों को, सबको बहुत बधाई देना चाहता हूं, शुभकामनाएं देना चाहता हूं, धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं। और मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि आप सब लोगों ने जिस प्रकार से कोविड वॉरियर के रूप में पूरे साल ग्राउंड जीरो पर रहकर सब प्रकार के खतरों को मोल लेकर देशवासियों को सचेत किया, सही जानकारियां दी, उसी प्रकार से अब फिर जब बहुत सारे
Well, that was the Union Health Minister, Dr. Harshvardhan, congratulating the country, the doctors, the frontline workers, saying that the fight against COVID-19 has now reached the decisive stage. Well, joining us now to discuss this further is Dr. N.K. Arora. He heads the Operations Research Group, a part of the national task force set up by the Indian Council of Medical Research in response to COVID-19. Dr. Arora, thank you so much for joining us here on CNBC TV 18. You know what? Let me ask you about Covaxin rollout, sir, because there are a lot of questions around that. As we start this important day, as we start the Covaxin rollout, what are the specific preparations in place? Do we have the required manpower for that rollout, considering there would be a specific follow-up for all the participants who get that vaccine, and also the informed consent form? Run us through what are the preparations that you see.
So, thank you very much for inviting me. I would like to assure everybody that for Covaxin, which is to be rolled out in a trial mode, and therefore consent is essential. And overall, the way COVID-19 vaccination program is being rolled out, this additionality is very easily incorporated into it, because during the screening process, and also when a beneficiary or an individual comes into the immunization room, the person has to look at their appointment and other things, and around the same time mechanisms have been set up to see that the consent is taken. There is no coercion. Individual is informed everything about the vaccine, Covaxin, and the whole philosophy is exceptional transparency. Individual is told everything, whatever information is available about the vaccine. There is no coercion, and once they sign the consent form in their own language, they are informed in their own language. They go inside, get the vaccine, wait for half an hour like any other individual, whether it is Covaxin or Covishield. And the additional care and for safety is that for first 7 days, close monitoring is done by health system by asking the recipient of the vaccine about any complaint they have. And in addition, they are also informed about the specific health center which is attached to this particular immunization center, and they can contact for any complaint, and then they would come for the second dose, and thereafter again a similar kind of monitoring goes on for the next 4 weeks also. A very intense 1 week monitoring, thereafter 3 week, any other complaint, the subject can complain back to the health facility and contact the doctor there. So this mechanism had been set up
Dr.
almost
Vishnu,
every immunization center across the country.
Okay. Dr. Vishnu, I just wanted to come in on that point. The fact that there needs to be a consent, that it is not mandatory, it's a voluntary vaccine, but you obviously want your staff at Fortis to get inoculated in order to, conduct operations more freely. So what happens to those that say no and say they don't want to get vaccinated? And how much of a percentage are you seeing of staff actually being apprehensive right now?
Number one, agree it's voluntary, and you can't force anyone to take it. But so far within our network of hospitals, we have not come across anyone having any anxiety about taking either the Covishield or the Covaxin, number one. And most important is that they have gone through this pandemic. They have done a wonderful job of serving the people. So they know that if they take it, they are safe. They are safe for their near and dear ones, because when this pandemic happened, a lot of times they could not go home. And those who went home also, they were a bit apprehensive about what will happen to the children, the elderly. So by taking the vaccines, they know that they will be protected themselves. They will be safe to their near and dear ones, because if you look at the way they're being staggered, the health frontline workers are going to get it first. Then it will be the elderly, and then it will be the ones who are 50 years below with comorbid conditions. So it's going to take some time. So at least if the frontline workers are vaccinated, a huge population will be safe and to take care of any patients, because COVID is not going to go immediately. It's still there. So there is no apprehension as far as the healthcare workers are concerned within our Fortis network. And even across Delhi, I've been noticing it. We have something called the National Capital Region Health Experts, which a lot of senior doctors are there, senior, junior. And I've been seeing the messages being exchanged. There is no apprehension about the Covaxin vaccine.
All right. There is no apprehension against Covaxin, is what Dr. Bishnu says. Dr. Arora, if I can, ask you, what is the expectation, to roll out the first set of vaccines to the frontline and the healthcare workers? What is the anticipation as you start today? By when do you think that will be completed? And is the list for the second round, which is the frontline workers and also of people above 50 years with comorbidity, has that already been set in place? Have they been registered on the COVID app? And also, if there is any glitches that you've seen on the COVID app, especially in the far-flung areas?
So Archana, I am sitting in District Hospital Palwal, which is about 80 kilometers south of Delhi on Delhi-Agra road. And this is a newly carved district, and I see a huge excitement. In fact, since we have our research area here, I will be one of the first one to receive the vaccine. The kind of arrangements and excitement and eagerness, I would say, among health providers and health workers and doctors in this area, it is unprecedented. I am so pleased that everybody wants to have the vaccine, and as it was just now said, that the frontline workers actually know, they have tasted COVID firsthand throughout last 1 year, and they would be obviously the first one who would understand the value and the safety the vaccine will provide, not only to them but to their families as well as to their patients. And they are also the leadership. They set an example for the rest of the population. Regarding your second question, as we understand, in next 4 to 6 weeks, we should be able to complete immunization of 3 crore individuals, frontline workers. That includes health providers, security personnel, police personnel, and municipal employees. And the rest of the priority recipients, that means 50 plus individuals and those who are less than 50 but have comorbidities, another 3 months or so. So in about 4 months or so, we should be able to complete this 30 crore population. There will be a gradual escalation. Today we have around 3,000 immunization centers, but gradually this will increase to around 60 to 80,000 immunization centers across, so that the action can be rapidly taken and most of the people are immunized across the country in stage 1.
Okay. All right. We have Dr. Shivkumar Uttare, who's the President, Maharashtra Medical Council, joining into this conversation as well. Dr. Uttare, you've also been fighting COVID, from the front lines from the start. And we think that you're getting your vaccination today as well. Where exactly are you? Have you received your vaccination? Give us some details about the day.
Yeah, hello, good morning. I'm at the vaccination center. There has been a little bit delay because of the inauguration program, where the Honorable PM and the Honorable CM of Maharashtra has just inaugurated the vaccination program. So I'm at Nair Hospital, where the vaccination program is going to take place. Okay. I think within another half an hour or so, I should be receiving my vaccination today over here.
Dr. Uttare, considering you've seen the fight against COVID in Mumbai frontline, over the last many months, and Mumbai saw the heaviest burden also. In terms of, if you can help us understand from a city level, what are the kind of preparations that you would have seen as far as this vaccination rollout is concerned? And have we seen some healthcare workers also opt out? Because that was one concern, since this is not a mandatory vaccine, you can opt out. Have we seen some healthcare workers also opting out? Okay.
You know, since a lot of, I would say, misinformation or half information has been coming on this WhatsApp and everything. And that is the reason why when I get vaccinated today, I'm going to put it up in all the doctors, WhatsApp sites, so that this would encourage our doctors to get vaccinated. You know, over these months, having seen what havoc this COVID can cause, and for that matter, around 2 months back, I had also turned COVID positive. So I know what the problems are of this, disease and how bad this disease is. So I think we must encourage all the health workers and especially the doctors. They must get vaccinated because this is the only way that they can get protected. And Indian Medical Association has made a study, and we have found that amongst doctor community, if you see the positivity rate and the death rate, it comes to almost 8 to 10%, which is pretty high. So the only way to bring this down is by this vaccination and get protected, not only as far as the doctors are concerned, but I feel even for the community, because only by vaccination, we are basically going to, achieve what is called as herd immunity. It is not possible to get herd immunity by getting infected. And with these 2 doses of vaccine, especially when, initially the B cells and then the T cells are immunity is caused, this is going to be a long-term immunity. At present, we do not know how long it's going to be, 6 months, 1 year, because this is a new vaccine, this is a new disease. But as per whatever reports are there, at least 6 months to 1 year, we will be covered by this. And God forbid, if we are going to get the second wave as it is seen in the European countries and the USA, the healthcare workers need protection because they are going to be again on the front line treating all these COVID patients. So I would, send a fervent plea to all my colleagues, doctor colleagues. Today I am receiving the vaccine, so be bold enough. I don't think there is any problem. You can go ahead and get vaccinated. The safety profile has already been given. As far as Covaxin is concerned, we are waiting for the efficacy profile, but that is going to run as a parallel, both they are doing the study and they are giving it as an emergency. So we should be getting it within a month or so. But definitely there is safety. We should not bother as far as the safety is concerned, because that protocol and those profiles have already come out.
Okay. Dr. Arora, I just want you to come in on the safety aspect, because there are articles just, in the past day or two circulating that around 23 people have in fact been affected very negatively in Norway when it comes to, they're older, much older people who've received the vaccine, and it was a very negative reaction to one of the vaccines which they were given. So do you think that maybe there would be some concern when it comes to the kind of age group that would eventually get the vaccine? Because we are aiming for over 50 plus or people with comorbidities especially to get it. Do you think there should be some caution exercise there? Dr. Arora, is my voice reaching you? Okay, I don't think we have Dr. Arora with us, but Dr. Bishnu, if I could just pose that question to you. Do you think there are concerns about people who are much more elderly to take the vaccine, or those with comorbidities, just on the fact that we don't have enough data for a longer period of time on what the side effects could be or what the reaction could be?
That's a good question. Agree, there's no data, but the elderly also are the vulnerable ones. And if you look at what happened during the pandemic, it was the elderly who suffered the most. So we should be propagating to them, sort of encouraging them to take it, and they should not have any apprehension about that. in the Western world, a lot of the elderlies, they also have a significant amount of comorbid conditions. So that's one of the reasons that that could have happened. But I think so the Indian population is much more sturdy. If you look at the way the pandemic panned out in India, our death rates was much lower. So I think so I'm optimistic about the way the Indian elderlies will also take it up. And I'm confident that this will take off very well. As I said earlier, I think so our generation did not see the Independence Day. I think this is another Independence Day for us.
Right, another Independence Day for India. Well, Dr. Arora, if I can come to you and taking that point forward on safety as well as the fact that, we are seeing a sharp decline in number of cases. There is also a sense amongst general population that we may not need to take the vaccine because the COVID pandemic is kind of behind us or is slowing down further. What is your view on that? And, as far as bringing a word out to the population on why we need to do the vaccine, what are the kind of preparations that ICMR and the government has done?
So that's a very important question. The whole issue is that viral diseases behave and the disease and the infection comes in waves. So we see first wave, second wave, third wave. And similarly, and when the waves go up, we get worried, and when the waves come down, and there is a very distinct danger of putting the population in complacency. And therefore, we cannot say that since the number of cases have come down significantly, we can be complacent and we may feel that the pandemic is behind us. No, it is not correct. A very large proportion of our population is still susceptible, and the moment we let our guards down, we will have epidemics and outbreaks in different parts. One of the important reasons that besides the behavior of the infection is that I think Indians have respected this COVID behavior much more than most of the other populations across the globe, whether it is mask, whether it is social distance or hand washing. We must all remember that we are a country with a lot of social and cultural functions. Practically last 1 year it has disappeared, whether it is marriages or other functions. Hardly any get-togethers have happened, and I think this has all helped us to bring down the infection, but that should not allow complacency to take over. So therefore, vaccine is very important. The second component is safety. Safety, I must say that our regulators, just now one of our other co-panelists did make that mention, that the way data is scrutinized, it is very, very close and in a scientific manner. And whether for both these vaccines, safety is not an issue at all. And similarly, the antibody response, which is called in technical parlance immunogenicity, or the protective factors produced as a result of the vaccine are also very good response, both the vaccines, be it Covaxin or Covishield. And that makes us confident that this vaccine is going to be effective as well. Although the data is still, we are awaiting the data for Covaxin. But safety is certainly not an issue. And our vaccines have certainly less side effects as compared to some of the vaccines which are being used in Europe and North America at the moment. Our vaccines, we do not get that kind of sickness or severeness or soreness of our limbs when we get injections. So I would like to reassure all our viewers that we should go ahead and do it. And I see the eagerness. I'm in a small district headquarters, and the kind of everybody is waiting the moment vaccination starts, and I think it has started now. And today's 100 people are already lined up. They know at what time they have to come, keeping COVID behavior in place.
Okay. Dr. Uttare, I just wanted to come to a very hypothetical situation. Say COVID, the vaccinations go off successfully in terms of the larger population as well. Do you think that things such as mandatory wearing of masks should be something that India should propagate amongst their population? Because one of the positive things which have come through with COVID has been the fact that we've managed to control TB cases quite significantly because there has been this mandatory mask wearing which has been initiated. So give us a sense in terms of what kind of protocols we need to take forward permanently as a population.
Yeah, you have to understand one thing, that even if you are vaccinated, for the next 1 year or so, at least you will have to continue wearing this mask till the whole population has been vaccinated. Getting vaccinated does not mean that you will not get infected. What vaccine basically is doing is, it does not allow you to go into the moderate or severe phase of the disease, for which you may require say admission or ICU admission. So that is what vaccination does. So it does not mean that you may not get infected. So definitely we have to continue what we are doing up till now, wearing the mask, having hand sanitizers and everything. And of course, second thing is definitely in the past few months, especially during the winter season, we have seen that the respiratory diseases have gone down drastically as compared to what we were seeing the year before that. So, and this has happened purely because majority of our population is wearing the mask, especially in cities like Mumbai city. The dust is amount of dust in the air is so much that you get infected. At least once you get infected during the cold season, which has not happened during this season. Yes, definitely it is going to help us. Even with the number of tuberculosis cases has gone down, as we have said, this has been also documented. So wearing a mask, at least for the next 1 year or so, I think should be mandatory by the government, and everything. All of us should follow that. And just a little bit going back to your last question about, the safety aspect, what we, this 23 cases which have been reported has caused a lot of consternation, especially amongst the doctor community. But let me tell you that this report is for the mRNA vaccine, which is a new vaccine, and we do not know the safety profile of that vaccine because that has been done for the first time. As far as in India is concerned, both the Covishield and the Covaxin, they are inactivated or attenuated organisms. And we have past experiences because our other vaccines are also inactivated or attenuated. And we have seen that the reactions are not that bad. Plus, in the Indian population, there have been studies, I think if I'm not mistaken, around 3,000 volunteers have been vaccinated as far as Covaxin is concerned. And they have not found any major problems or major side effects of this.
Okay. You're saying that in the current studies, no major side effects, particularly for the technology of inactivated whole virus vaccine, has not been, found. But as far as Covaxin particularly is concerned, it's still under trials. And I was going through the fact sheet that has been released by the company very recently, which was just last evening, which says that since the efficacy is yet not established, it is still in phase 3 clinical trials. Getting the vaccine does not mean you should stop your precautionary measures, and the fact that efficacy is still under question. It also lists very specific severe adverse allergic reactions like difficulty in breathing, swelling of face and throat, a fast heartbeat. Dr. Arora, if I can come back to you, because you made that point saying that Indian vaccines have much less side effects as compared to the other international vaccines. Just going by the fact sheet, someone who's reading it, someone who's about to take the vaccine knows that these vaccines have yet not waited out the trial period of 6 months to a year to 1.5 years, which is normally the case. And there are these side effects. Efficacy itself is also not established. Do you anticipate that raising a question? How do we answer that, sir, to recipients who would have this question?
So I would first take a very important point you raised, and that was persistence and continuation of COVID behavior, COVID appropriate behavior, particularly mask and keeping distance. That is a very important, and it not only prevents COVID transmission, it helps in transmission of all other infectious disease. You gave the example of tuberculosis, but I must give you two more examples and which are equally important. Measles, which in children, and if we use this social distancing, that also helps. And the second is, throughout last 1 year, if you ask all the practitioners, they will tell you that practically so-called viral fever has disappeared, and it is because of this COVID appropriate behavior, means mask and social distancing and hand washing. So this is something which should become part of our life, particularly in the current context. Even after the vaccine, in the first stage only 30 crores, that means only 20 or 23% of the Indian population will be immunized. Rest of the population is still to be immunized, and therefore unless the whole population is immunized, it is absolutely necessary that the COVID appropriate behavior continues. Now second is in terms of safety. Now safety for Covaxin, as I was telling you, there are three things: safety, how good is the antibody response or protective response, and the third is effectiveness, how effectively new infections or new disease can be prevented. Here I would like to clarify that even where trials have been completed, be it Covishield or be it Pfizer or Moderna, we know the effectiveness of only 2 or 3 months after the vaccination course has been completed. And long term, like you were mentioning about 6 months or 1 year, this information is yet to come. Regarding Covaxin, as I understand, almost 26,000 patients have completed their immunization schedule. Now they are under follow-up, and another 2 months' time we will get the effectiveness, that short-term effectiveness for this vaccine also. But there are no safety signals. With such a large number of individuals getting the vaccine, there are no safety signals. We are not to be worried. And as I said, as compared to mRNA vaccine, these inactivated vaccines, be it Covaxin, the other is called vectored vaccine. Adenovirus vector is used. It's a platform on which COVID antigens are put in. Both are less even at the injection site, not many symptoms happen. So safety, I would say, not at all a issue, not at all. And mRNA vaccine, we should not be quoting that. We are not using that vaccine. We are using traditional vaccines, and we have plenty of years.
Okay, all right. That point is taken, Dr. Arora. Dr. Bishnu as well as Dr. Uttare, thank you very much for joining in and talking to us about the entire vaccine rollout. Such a historic day for India. Thanks very much for joining in with your inputs. In fact, let's continue with what is happening across India in terms of the vaccine rollout. Let's go across to Revati, who joins in from Chennai to take us through the on-ground situation there. Revati, over to you.
This is the Government Medical College in Omandarur in Chennai, which is one of the 12 sites in Chennai administering the vaccine today. One of the 166 centers across the state. 160 centers that will administer Covishield and 6 centers that will administer Covaxin. This site here, the Government Medical College in Omandarur in Chennai, will administer Covishield for a maximum of 100 beneficiaries today. And as you enter the vaccination center, the first place, the first desk is where your vitals will be examined. This would be a temperature, oxygen level, blood pressure, and ensuring that you are healthy. You must be healthy to be eligible for the vaccine. You must not be pregnant or a lactating mother. A lot of medical students here as well who are waiting to get vaccinated. They have registered themselves, they volunteer for the vaccine. If you could tell me again what the registration process was like so far in the last 2 months.
We've been asked to fill a form online.
Okay.
We gave ID, like driving license or PAN card or something like that.
Okay.
And then that's it. We've been asked to come yesterday.
Yesterday you were informed. Were you told about the possible side effects that you could have after the vaccination is done?
We were informed about it and we've read about it, so we're pretty informed.
What are they? What are you expecting?
A normal immune reaction, fever and body pain and all that. for like a day or two. That is it.
Okay. The immediate normal immune reaction to any vaccine is what you're expecting as well. So they've been briefed about the procedure. They are informed about what the possible side effects could be. They're also medical students, so they have volunteered to get vaccinated. Now at the first desk, once the vitals are examined and the officials here have ensured that you're healthy, then you enter the vaccination center here. This is the entry point, and once you enter, on your right side, you will see the verification desk. Now, verification desk, this is where the vaccination officer 2 is, where your details would be verified, cross-checked with what is updated in the software, your government ID as well as the registration that you have done on the COVID portal. This will be cross-verified. And once your identity is confirmed, your details are verified, you will be taken into the vaccination room. Now, this is where you will be administered the vaccine. It could either be Covishield or Covaxin. Here at this center, it is the Covishield vaccine that is being administered at this point of time. Now, this is after the vitals are examined and your personal details are confirmed. Once the vaccine is administered, you can see the staff here taking the vaccine out of the COVID vaccine box and administering it on the volunteers who have registered. Now, once the vaccine shot is given, now each shot is 0.5 ml. The first dose would be administered, and once that is done, they will be taken to the observation room. What you're seeing now is a nurse administering the Covishield vaccine to one of the beneficiaries, one of the volunteers, one of the beneficiaries of the vaccine who has registered to get vaccinated.
Okay, all right, Revati, thanks very much for bringing us that walkthrough from Chennai. On that note, it's a big thank you for tuning in from Archana and myself and the entire team. Thanks very much for watching. News and other updates continue.
The first batch of Bharat Biotech's Covaxin has arrived across 11 cities as the government gears up for the first phase of the vaccination drive starting the 16th of January. The government has so far announced a purchase order for 55 lakh doses of Covaxin, of which 16.5 lakh doses will be provided free by the company and the rest at 295 rupees per dose. While the government has authorized Covaxin for emergency use, there have been concerns since the vaccine is yet to clear the phase 3 trial and efficacy data is not yet available. Addressing the press on the 4th of January, Bharat Biotech's chairman and managing director, Dr. Krishna Ella, said the vaccine offered 100% protection in animal trials and phase 3 human efficacy data will be available in March. Well, joining me now to discuss the roadmap for Covaxin as well as respond to some of the concerns that have been raised, I'm joined by Dr. Krishna Ella himself. We also have with us Suchitra Ella, the joint managing director at Bharat Biotech. Dr. Krishna Ella and Suchitra Ella, many thanks for joining us here on CNBC TV 18. I won't address the efficacy issue first because I know that you've spent a fair amount of your time over the last few days addressing that. Let me ask you about another issue. When the vaccine was given approval, there were two things that came to light. One was the issue of this being a backup vaccine, something that you dismissed outrightly in your press conference. You said that there is no question of Covaxin being a backup vaccine, but you yourself pointed out that you wanted more clarity on what clinical trial mode means. Do you now, Dr. Krishna Ella, have more clarity on what clinical trial mode means? What will that entail in terms of vigilance? Is this now going to be counted as part of the phase 3 trial? Will this be assessed separately? If you can give me more color, more detail on what the process is going to be.
Then you have 20 questions in one question. So it's nice to be here. What I want to say is the backup vaccine is a sort of just a casual word that's coming. I think we should not make it more story out of it. Okay, I think we leave it there. I think that's a dignified way to do it. Move on, because now language is sometimes interpreted differently. That's all I want to say that. Coming to the efficacy, right now the first dose is completed. Second dose also, more than 10,000 people are vaccinated. Suppose if the severe disease is there today, I would have had by end of this month, I would have had interim data. Now disease burden is less. See, efficacy is related to the how much disease burden, how much disease is right now happening in the situation is important. right now, unfortunately, I mean, it's good to the society, but for a trial purpose, we don't have much epidemic right now. It's little down. So that's why we are saying it might be coming in March, the data, interim data. Okay. Otherwise, usually in US and Europe, they captured at a peak of the disease burden. At a peak of the disease burden, they captured the efficacy. That's all. But here we have less burden right now, but we will do it. But what is important, are we following the process? That's all I'm saying. We are following the process of international practices. But you ask me to give an interim data today, I can't do it. That process has to take place. And
yes, I understand that you cannot share with us the interim data, sir, and you said that you will make that available closer to March. That's your expectation as of today. But do you today have clarity on what clinical trial mode will mean? Are you going to be responsible for the vigilance, for the follow-up? Is the government going to be responsible? How does this work from here on?
I mean, we're going to have clarity soon, but I think by tomorrow. And there will be a committee and monitoring this thing. But what is advantage is when you have a phase 3 trial is going on, it's not right to give it to the market right now. So that's why they put it under the supervision of the trial. It is sort of a clinical mode, but there's no placebo here. Everybody gets a vaccine here. In a phase 3 efficacy trial, you have 50% people are placebo, 50% are vaccinated. Okay, that's all the difference is. But otherwise, it's also good to us because when a phase 3 trial is happening, you can't have two more in a company. One is how can you have phase 3 trial going on, and how can you do selling the product? So that's why they're given, drug control is given like that. And where we will be monitoring some of the adverse reactions and all that, we'll be monitoring that.
But, the complexity of being able to monitor, and you're administering 55 lakh doses to start with. That is what the government has procured in phase 1 from Bharat Biotech for Covaxin. The complexity of being able to monitor, follow up, is that going to be your responsibility? Because you just said that you still don't have clarity, and perhaps you will get more clarity on that tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow we'll have it. But I can tell you one thing, we have all worked out the system, but my colleagues might know better, and I may not be the right person to answer that right now, because my colleague Medical Affairs Department is handling the issues. So we'll have clarity by tomorrow. But certainly, government will be helping us. Both will be joining together and monitoring this.
Okay, let me ask you then, Dr. Ella, about the price. On the 4th of August in 2020 at a conference, you had said that the cost will be less than that of a water bottle. In fact, you had pointed to a water bottle and you'd said the water bottle is 5 times more costly than my vaccine. Now, Covaxin today is priced at $295. Can you take us through how you've arrived at that pricing? Because price is a factor of the technology that's being used, clinical trials, I would imagine, the landscape in terms of competition. It's more expensive than Covishield produced by Serum. And why this decision to provide 16.5 lakh doses free to the government? How was that arrived at?
I mean, as a manufacturers, we have our own way of calculating a lot of things. But when I said in the beginning, when less than a water bottle, many press people interpret it differently, unfortunately. Okay, when I said we as a manufacturers in the world, Indian manufacturers, sell some of the vaccine less than a water bottle. Look at the hepatitis B vaccine. Look at the pentavalent vaccine, 5 antigen. All are almost equal to water bottle cost we are selling in the government. Okay, so I said in general, Indian manufacturers are high efficient manufacturers and very highly affordable vaccine manufacturers. That is what I mean. But suddenly everybody put me on the COVID.
Constructed for the COVID vaccines. For that matter, Shireen, I think you will appreciate that this is not about comparing prices between two Indian manufacturers. Because if right now at 295, in fact, we have really tipped it to the bottom-most levels of pricing in terms of this is completely in-house funded. There has not been any external financial monetary support either by the government or by any other international agency. So we have not been subsidized at all. In fact, this is probably the lowest that any manufacturer could have even calculated or arrived at a pricing. It could be more internationally if this vaccine goes across abroad outside to the world. It is going to be in a dollar number, which is going to be much, much higher than what you see today at $295. The $295 again is something because of the volumes. When we supply to Government of India, we do a lot of vaccines every year, which goes into the procurement under the Universal Immunization Program. So our pricing is according to the volumes that come into the play. And now, right now, if you look at it, the $295 comes to almost close to 1/3 has been knocked off in terms of those 16 lakh doses. So it is coming on par with that 200 number that you have just said it yourself. So there's no need to compare between the other vaccines or what is available in India today, because we are now, it's priced the same. So that has been worked out in a manner in which so that it is efficient for the system and for the vaccine rollout to happen in a very soon and efficient manner for the country. So I think that is something that maybe the country should be appreciative of, and not the other way around. Asking a manufacturer, how have you priced it like this, or why have you priced it like this? I think as manufacturers, we know.
I'm only trying to understand what have been the factors. I'm only trying to understand what have been the factors that have gone into considering the price. You're free to price it at what you like. I'm not getting into that at all. I'm only asking what has gone into arriving at that price, especially in the context of the comment that was made on the 4th of August. And you're saying that that was a general comment about vaccines being produced in India, not necessarily the COVID vaccine. Let me then move on and ask you about on the statement that's been put out by a civil society group of more than 150 people, and this is with respect to concerns that have been raised on the phase 3 trials underway at the People's College of Medical Sciences and Research Centre in Bhopal. They have asked for an investigation into the legal and ethical violations, and they're also seeking a compensation for trial participants. They basically asked for the trial to be halted. How do you respond to the charges that have been raised in this open letter, in this statement, Dr. Eller?
Sharon, I want to put it very straight, this fact. We're doing 26 centers all over the country. Why would we do something different in Bhopal? Honestly, I was not in the country. I was not aware of the Union Carbide. I know that newspapers, I read a Union Carbide, but I didn't know that Bhopal is a place. Okay, I was a little ignorant. Okay, suddenly, all the Union Carbide issues are all brings in. I mean, it was not required. When poor people, rich people, both are required the vaccine. I can't discriminate. Oh, he's a Union Carbide affected. He doesn't deserve a vaccine in the trial, volunteer as a trial. But that's not right. I think everybody deserves. I think they all came to see whether I bribed the volunteer to get them into the trial. We paid only 750 rupees by approval of the Central Regulatory Authority and also Ethical Committee of the institution to give minimum compensation for lunch and other purposes.
It's an allowance.
It
is an allowance for every participant
of the trial. We are not bribed even a single volunteer. We are not bribed
across all the centers for the 26,000 volunteers, which has been factored and structured in the conduct of the trial, approved by the Ethics Committee of every hospital, and approved by the Drug Controller General of India. So it is a process of the trial conduct itself. And the trial, Shireen, please appreciate this, is conducted by a third-party clinical research organization called IQVIA, formerly known as Quintiles, and they monitor the data, and the day-to-day conduct of the trial is completely monitored by a third party, which connects all the information about the participants, the hospitals, all the protocols and everything else that is followed at that site. And we per se don't have any information in pertaining to the participants or their backgrounds or any other information regarding a volunteer. A volunteer is a volunteer. Everybody, including the names, are coded. So these are international protocols, and I think you'll appreciate that.
No, Suchitra, I understand that these are international protocols and there is a third-party agency that is conducting the trial. But on the specific issues raised about the lack of informed consent as well as the failure to monitor the trial participants, are you looking into some of these concerns that have been raised? Are you looking into the specific issues that have been raised with regards to this specific site, which is part of the phase 3 trial? Are you looking at the possibility of halting the trial as has been suggested?
See, number one, a halting trial comes only when there is adverse reaction happened because of the vaccine. This was the first 7 days is absolutely all right. And when he died, it was brought to the government hospital, not to the trial center where it was done. And it was brought to the government hospital. They declared he was a poison and heart attack. But nobody highlights that. Why he got poisoned and heart attack, nobody highlights. Just he happened to be a volunteer. They put a blame on me. And the civil society, they should at least understand, do we want to kill somebody? I mean, are we criminals in this country to kill somebody for like this? It is not Bhopal, 26 centers. And you know, every media is watching me, what adverse reaction happens in every center. Many media people have volunteered themselves, the clinical, including Ecuador ambassador, has volunteered in Rohtak for a trial. High Council.
The High Council of Ecuador has driven from Delhi with his family and staff and has traveled to Rohtak, and he has also participated in a trial. So at this point of time, relating to this particular case in Bhopal, I think it is being unduly sensationalized by whoever, for whatever the reason, because I would like to also reiterate that at this point of time, this is a phase 3 trial. It is a double-blinded, randomized double-blinded trial. No, we only know that it is a participant. We do not know whether the participant has been vaccinated with a vaccine or with the placebo. So there is no, proof or anything that is being pointed out to the vaccine. The regulator, the SEC, and the Drug Safety Monitoring Board under the Drug Controller General of India and the Ethics Committee of the hospital itself monitors this information, reports it to the regulator, and only if it points out to the vaccine, then it is the call of the regulator to stop the trial or continue the trial. It is not our decision to do so. I think that should be made clear through you to the viewers and to the public at large. I think it will do a lot of good if the right information goes out in the conduct of these trials and in the guidelines and the protocols that are being followed.
The trials on children between the ages of 2 to 12, Dr. Ella. When will this start? Have you already applied to the SEC, to the DCGI with this proposal?
Not submitted yet, Sharon. I think we'll be probably in another week or 10 days, we'll be submitting a protocol.
Okay, and the nasal vaccine as well, Dr. Ella, because there was some back and forth on that. Can you explain to us where things currently stand as far as the nasal vaccine is concerned?
So I think I want to make it very simple. I don't want to complicate the science.
Yeah, I think you are giving too much.
Whatever intramuscular injections, whatever you take, whether mRNA or CHAD or Bharat Biotech Covaxin, whatever it is injectable, it will not protect the upper lung. When you don't protect the upper lung properly, okay, even you look at Pfizer, their document also shows that, Modern also shows, CHAD also, same thing, chimpanzee adenoma of AstraZeneca also clearly mentions upper lung is little weak. So you still have infection and transmission of the virus. So I was always thinking as a scientist, as usual, and I was thinking that how do you stop the transmission? When you have 1.3 billion population, you know, when you can't control the transmission, then how will you bring the herd immunity faster? One of the ways to stop the transmission is through nasal vaccine. And this we worked with the Washington University, St. Louis, and it's a technology will be us actually now. We are manufactured now, and we have done RCGM DBT, we submitted. We got the permission from RCGM also, from Department of Biotechnology. Now we submitted protocol to the Drug Controller General of India. And once we get the permission, phase 1 and 2, nasal will be one of the strategy where the delivery is easier and also the upper lung will be protected, transmission can be stopped. I'll leave it there.
Okay.
So it is in the process.
I understand.
Yes, Shireen, unfortunately, these are not plug and play answers. Definitely, the processes go on for at least 6 or if not now 9 to 12 months. You know, in vaccine development, which has been very compressed because of the pandemic world over. So a normal vaccine development happens 10 years and plus. But the nasal route is also, we have already worked on it. We have brought in the strains from the US, and we have multiple government agencies which look into each aspect of the step that needs to be taken up. So there is a DBT, the Department of Biotechnology. There is also the National Regulatory Authority, which is the Ministry of Health. So there are multiple entities that also have to review all this information that we submit and then seek their permissions. And once it's cleared, then we are ready to step in and go in for phase 1 clinical trials in humans, which will be soon. Which will be soon.
Understand. Which will be soon. All right. Dr. Ella, let me ask you, sir, and I don't know whether you have received any more clarity on this from the government, but there are reports suggesting that there's unlikely to be any indemnity provided to vaccine manufacturers. I don't know if vaccine manufacturers like you have sought any, but do you have any clarity on indemnity that could be provided? Are you seeking any?
No, not only as a Vaccine Manufacturers Association, both Aadhar, Poonawalla, Biologically Limited, Bharat Biotech, all of us, all the manufacturers, Indian manufacturers, we joined together. We gave a representation to them because US has got indemnification, UK has got indemnification for vaccine. Okay, we asked similar things to be done in India also. That's all we asked for it. That is what the Health Secretary said. Indemnification is not given yet for the Indian manufacturers. So it will be asked in general for all the manufacturers.
Okay, so you're saying that there is clarity from the government that there will be no indemnity provided in case of any serious adverse effect or event for any vaccine manufacturer?
Yes, but US and Europe has got that.
Sorry?
US and Europe, government has given indemnification for the manufacturers.
Okay, and that you're saying that is what vaccine manufacturers were seeking. Let me then start getting wrap-up comments from both of you. What is the roadmap now, Dr. Ella, in terms of further purchase orders? What communication are you having with individual firms representing different countries, like the one that you just inked with Brazil? Are you in touch with other governments as well? Are you talking to the COVAX facility? Can you take me through where things currently stand on that front?
Sharon, I think, first my rollout is important. On the people should be protected, healthy, and so that the pandemic is over, get back to their work, their families are safe. That is most important for me. And I think business is secondary for me. And the people who are going to take a vaccine on 16th, I want them to be healthy and safe, and their families should be healthy and safe. That is what I want right now. I don't want a business. Business is secondary for me. And the healthcare of these people are going to be important for me right now.
But what is the order visibility, Suchitra, because you had talked about a stockpile of 20 million already. What is the order visibility at this point in time?
That's not important, Sharin. I think
the two manufacturers, I think the government knows and has also, I think they have talked about what are the requirements for the states in terms of the first responders and all the different categories, which I had also mentioned in our earlier talks, the police or the military or the other government entities and workers, the healthcare workers, and also the 50+ category of people. So all these categories of the population has been worked out from the states to the central government, and I'm sure that they are going to take that mode of vaccination in that way. So we as manufacturers will know only when they want their next stockpile of vaccines as manufacturers, so that they will give us an indication, because it all depends on the cycle of the production that we have. So we will know that in advance, and we will be able to keep ready with those numbers of doses. Right now, going forward, we are looking at even more than 100 million doses getting ready as the months roll out. It's not that today there will be 100 million doses available for anybody to start with. So this is a process, and month on month, the cycle is quite alarming. I don't want to scare you all by saying these things, but it is not an overnight thing. It has a cycle to itself, and all these cycles are involved with internal testing and also an external testing agency in Kasauli in Himachal Pradesh. So every batch goes through there for every manufacturer. So there is lots of intricacies, there's lots of technicalities, and there's lots of approvals that will come into play, and the timelines are known to us, and we will plan production schedules according to the requirement of what the government procurement process is going to be for the country based on those categories that they have worked out already.
Dr. Ella, two quick final questions. The 28-day interval, do you believe that this is the best, given the fact that you're still awaiting data from phase 3, sir? So, on the back of whatever data that you do have, do you believe the 28-day interval is the best?
Absolutely.
Today, because it's a pandemic, that is why people are using 28 days as a pandemic vaccine. If it is a normal vaccine, you would prefer the booster dose always little longer. Okay, that's what happens. The booster effect will be better if you give a little more space between the two doses. But since it's a pandemic, so we're giving 0 and 28 days. I know that's all the vaccine manufacturers are giving.
All vaccines are almost in that time.
0, 28 days.
Yeah.
So, but I think, you would prefer second dose should be given a little later if it is a normal situations.
Let me end by asking you, Dr. Ella, in your press conference, you had talked about how, you had published 5 articles about Covaxin. When can we expect the first peer review paper being put out, sir? When is that likely to happen?
2 is already out, Sharin. 2 is already out. It's a public domain. I can forward it to you. Tomorrow I can forward it to you. 3 already the final process. And so we are not something when I said in the press, I mean it. So I will not take back. It's not 5, it's going to increase numbers. It's not going to 5, it's going to increase more. It'll all be there.
All right, Dr. Ella.
Christmas holidays. Christmas holidays, lot of reviews. Delayed.
No, all right.
Appreciate you joining us.
Sharin, please understand and appreciate that these data which is being published is all from April, May, June, July, and August and September. All the data is from the trials and the work that has happened since these last 7, 8, 9 months. And some of them have been done by us. Some of them have been done at NIV Pune, like our animal studies and data. Everything has been published. And the only thing is with December, see, the phase 1 data came up already. The phase 2 data, by the time it went to them, after our testing time and everything being done, the analysis and all that being completed, it was by then December. So there are, and we don't have any leeway with the publication of such stature internationally. We can't put any pressure on them. It is their timelines, and we just have to wait for them to officially load it on their domain and their portals. So we have the preprints with us, and it is available already as preprints. I hope people will see it and understand that the call is by the publishing entity and not by us. So they will do it, and once they do it, we will be the happiest people, and we'll be first informing you as well.
All right, Suchitra Ella, Dr. Krishna Ella, many thanks for joining us here on CNBC TV 18 and taking us through a whole host of issues. I know that you are constrained because of the many partners that are involved with Covaxin, but thank you very much for sharing whatever you possibly can share with us at this point in time. Appreciate your time. Well, we
Thank
will take a
you.
break. There's a lot more coming up here on CNBC TV 18. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a moment.